So here we are. We've completed part A, part B, and now we're on to part C. So some of the feedback that I provided you guys in part 2 of your section 2 of your case study was that some of you inserted opinion where it wasn't warranted. So within this case study, there are definite places that your opinion is definitely warranted. And so in this section, we are going to be able to insert our opinion in part C. So in part C, we're evaluating how this placement is the least restrictive environment to address the student's specific skills and characteristics as described in part 1. So again, this is your opinion, right? So this is where you have to be able to show me that you're really demonstrating that you're applying your knowledge of the content we've learned in class, as well as this case study, specifically to the student. So this is your opinion. So is the student in the least restrictive environment for his needs? If so, why? If not, what would you suggest? So I provided a little bit of context for Armand. So when we're thinking about the least restrictive environment, we want to look back at the case study. So again, this is the case study contents. So we're going to be looking specifically at the current IEP, goals, services, and accommodations. So I'm going to click on that. So in this LRE section, so again, looking at his goals, so we know that with all of the testing, the student had deficits in fluency, encoding, and attention. So with his services, we know that he's receiving reading support for 30 minutes, 10 times a week. So if we split this up, the student's actually receiving 60 minutes per day of reading support, 5 days a week. He's receiving 15 minutes per day of writing support every day. And he's receiving 60 minutes of behavior management 5 days a week. So do you understand that? Because this is 30, but this is 10 times per week. So if we divide that up into 5 days, we know that he's receiving 60 minutes. So in terms of thinking about Armand's needs and thinking about what he's currently getting, we can make a pretty strong case. So you have a lot of data in here to be able to kind of demonstrate how we might address Armand's needs. So one of the first things is that I wanted to address his deficits in reading fluency and encoding. So again, this is specifically related to his least restrictive environment, okay? So I said that he's receiving special education to support to address his deficits in reading fluency and encoding. He's receiving a tier 3 specialized program, which is that Orton Gillingham program, and reading support daily. So that 60 minutes per day, 5 days a week to address his needs. So what I said was, although I think this time is sufficient to address his needs, I would recommend that he's also able to complete his independent reading in the resource room. So I'm going to highlight that. So we know that when he is doing his independent reading, he is in the general education classroom. So I'm going to go back to the impact of his disability. So when I was reading this impact, I read this paragraph about how much he struggles with the 30-minute independent block. So what I said in this section was that I would recommend that he's able to complete his independent reading in the resource room. So that would be 30 minutes, 5 days a week, in order for him to learn adequate strategies to self-monitor what he's reading and to stay focused. Because again, we want to be able to pull this information from that. So he is unable to read enough high content material to generate the required analysis in the time allowed. So I would say that he would be able to learn strategies to self-monitor what he's reading and to stay focused. So I got this information from the impact of disability section. The other point that I would make is I would want to address something in terms of how his behavior is addressed, right? Because he struggles to adhere to behavioral expectations. So something that I would recommend is to address his behavioral deficits. Currently, Armand receives, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 60 minutes a day, 5 days a week of behavior support or behavior management support in the general education setting. And then you want to be able to address what you'd recommend. So personally, I would recommend that Armand participate in a tier 2 intervention in the special education setting in order to learn strategies to help his impulsivity that impacts his behavior. So just to let you guys know, with this type of intervention for behavior, this isn't something that occurs every day. So this could be something I would recommend this program to occur once per week for 45 minutes. So again, right now he's receiving 60 minutes a day, 5 times a week, but he still has a lot of difficulty in terms of adhering to behavioral expectations. So we want to be able to provide him with a tier 2 intervention to learn strategies to help his impulsivity. Okay. And again, what I'm writing is just to get your mind kind of going. So these types of things I should not see verbatim in your assignment. This is just to get you started. Okay. So that is what we can go off of for part C.